One thing I will say about this New Edition movie is that I didn't actually have to watch the movie to know the New Edition story. Like I was actually born in in an era where I had a chance to actually see all this happening in real time. And I remember being in the sixth grade and I was on the football team, and I remember hearing that song "Candy Girl" on the radio. Everybody thought it was Michael Jackson. And I remember that everything they did at that time just seemed to turn to gold. I think it was about 83 or 84. And and I had a lot of admiration, like every other little kid. I mean, who wouldn't want to be, on national TV and singing in front of millions of people and so allegedly making a lot of money, which we know that they weren't. But it's funny, like, when I look at that story as a person who lived through it and saw it, and a person who looks back on it, reflects on it as a grown man, there were just some interesting thoughts that came to mind. I mean, the biggest part of this story to me was, despite all the talent, despite the fact that they were selling out all these arenas, when they got that first check for $1.87, and of course we know that that's a robbery, right? And you can't blame them. I mean, they were kids. They were 12, 13 years old. But it's interesting because you see this happen a lot in entertainment. I mean, I want you to ask yourself this. How often do you see a black entertainment story that ends with economic devastation? How often does that happen? Damn near every time. Why is it that damn near every entertainment story that we see that involves black people ends with economic devastation? It ends with somebody going broke, somebody getting hooked on drugs, somebody getting robbed by the label, so whatever, right? And the question I would always ask is when are we going to change that story? When are those stories going to change? Some of them are changing. I mean, you see some artists now who have a lot more sense about this kind of stuff. But I will tell you that, a lot of this really comes from a system and a pattern. It comes from a predetermined relationship between black people and non-black people, mostly white people, European people, Jewish people as well. They're kind of trained to be the predators from an early age, and you're trained to be the prey. And as much as we might feel that what they're doing is wrong and everything else, when I went to California this week and I saw Minister Louis Farrakhan, we were sitting at a table. It was like the third, fourth time I sat with Farrakhan. Every time I sit with him, it's wonderful. And he said, a lion will never apologize for eating the gazelle that he felt he needed to eat in order to survive, right? A lion will never apologize to the prey, right? And so effectively, there are people, some Jewish, some white, some of them are black, that pretty much live off of black people. They eat you in order for them to stay alive economically. Yeah, because a lot of capitalism is survival of the fittest. So capitalism is a competitive, nasty game, and a lot of people play it better than you do. And a lot of the reason they play it better than you is because you're not really trained at an early age to understand that you're in a competitive game. You're trained to be non-competitive, and it's not your fault. I read to you guys from Black Labor, White Wealth, Dr. Claude Anderson's book, where he specifically quotes laws and procedures put in place where the goal was to make black people into a non-competitive, that was the word they used, non-competitive labor force, non-competitive group that knew that they were subordinated to whites. So, when you look at this, right, and I'm watching the highlights from the New Edition story, and I'm gonna watch the rest of it. And I got a chance to meet Michael Bivins. I think that was his name. I met that brother. He came on my show one time. God bless him. Good guy, smart guy. And I'm gonna watch it. But when I watch the previews, I see, the devastation, the financial devastation, where they were kind of used up and chewed up and spit out. I saw the weird relationship with Bobby Brown and Bobby kind of losing his mind. I remember watching that happen in real life, in real time. And also this sort of sense of powerlessness, that if the record label does not come and take care of us, then we're done. We have no recourse, no options. And that to some extent makes sense based on the hierarchy, based on the structure, right? White people, not white people, wealthy white people and wealthy Jewish people, they send their children to business school to learn marketing, to learn distribution, to learn financing, to learn all of that, so they can control the industry. We will, in our households, teach our kids how to sing and dance, right? So it's a symbiotic relationship. They're preparing themselves to build and own the stage. We prepare our children to get on the stage that was built and owned by somebody else. And what happens a lot of times is that you're entering into a power structure in a powerless situation. And some people figure it out. Some people get smart, like Michael Bivins and Ice Cube. Ice Cube's another guy that I think really figured it out. Dr. Dre figured it out a little bit. He's a coon though. He gave all that money to USC. I'm sorry, you got your coon card with that one, brother. You should have gave some of that money to a HBCU. You gave $20 million to USC. They don't even need the money. You could have gave $3 million to Hampton or Howard or Morehouse. You probably could have sent 10,000 black kids to college over the next 20, 30 years. If you would use that as an endowment. But instead, you gave your money right back to white people. So yeah, you get no respect from me. I'll never respect that. Maybe one day he'll rectify that. Maybe he'll do something just to show me up or whatever. And I hope he does. I hope he makes me look stupid. I hope that he says, I'm going to show his ass and makes, a $20 million donation to some HBCU. But if he had given that money to an HBCU instead of a white school, he would have matched Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby's donation in the 80s. Bill Cosby, from what I understand, gave the largest donation to any HBCU. I think that lawyer might have matched him. I don't know. I forgot the lawyer's name. Willie Gary, that's his name. I think Willie Gary. I think Willie might have gave $10 million. But either way, it's still a lot of money. God bless them both. So anyway, with that said, I think that this New Edition story, it brings up and, just kind of a reminder. It's a lesson. Everything's a lesson, right? So when you watch the New Edition story and you're enjoying the music and you're enjoying the drama and everything else, you got to also sort of understand the mechanics of that story and how did that story get played out. Every actor in that story had a role, and how did certain actors end up with certain roles? How did some actors end up on top? How come those, you don't hear stories about Jewish record industry executives getting screwed over by black people? You don't really hear that. You hear about black people being manipulated by the record executives, and it ain't always their fault. You can get mad about it. You can call them names. You can do whatever. The fact is, though, they prepared their kids to take a certain role in the process, a certain role in the system, to how to play the game in a certain way. Where they're playing the game from the top, they're playing above the rim, we're playing beneath the basement, right? So teach kids to play above the rim. That's how you win. Because I'm gonna tell you, ain't nobody ever gonna feel sorry for you. One thing you gotta understand about America is everything they tell you about equality and inclusion and diversity, that's nonsense. Those are all cloak words to get you to disarm yourself, so that you will sit back and patiently wait to be included, and then they'll never include you, and you'll think that it was an oversight. You're like that person who shows up to dinner and everybody's like, "Oh no, just wait outside. Well, we'll bring you in and we'll feed you soon." Everybody else sits down and eats, and you're like, "Wait, Mr. Smith, I think that there was an oversight here. I was supposed to be let in to eat at 8 o'clock, and apparently there's a mistake, right?" You're really thinking it's a mistake, and they're looking at you like you're an idiot. Like you fell for that. You fell for the whole like wait outside trick, right? And that's pretty much what they do to you. That's when they give you that stupid shit about diversity and inclusion and all this other stuff, and then they still never hire any black people or give them any promotions. That's because they're hoping that you're going to take their rhetoric over actual physical action. Talk is very cheap. There's that term, talk is cheap. What does that mean? That means talk is inexpensive. Talk doesn't cost them anything. So it costs them nothing to give you words. And if you'll take words over action, then that's great for them. They didn't have to give you anything. So, the fact is that you don't live in a world that is inclusive. You don't live in a world that's built on diversity. You don't live in a world that believes in equality and fair treatment of people of color. You live in a world that is competitive. You live in a world where people respond to money, they respond to power, and the powerful groups get what they want. That's why you got a president that you may not necessarily like. But do you think Donald Trump cares? No. Donald Trump does not care what you think about him. Do you think Donald Trump is built like a bully? Yeah, he's a bully. Donald Trump is going to pretty much do what I thought Obama should have done. I think Obama should have went up in there and said, this is what I want. This is what I'm going to do. I don't care if you like me. I'm signing this order and this order and this order, and we're going to pass this law, and we're going to fund it like this and this and this, and we shutting this down and building this up. He should have been like that. Instead, he's the one reaching across the aisle trying to bring everybody together. Donald Trump's like, I really don't care. I'm going to do what I want to do. So maybe you can learn something from that. I mean, the world's kind of built that way. The only thing that both Obama and Trump are going to protect, and every president will protect, is the stock market. That's why we're teaching Black people to invest in the stock market. We had our stock market investing class tonight. If you want to join, you can go check it out at blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. It's right below the video. You get 30% off if you want to join. Everything's recorded. There's a money back guarantee. It's a great class. Everybody loves it. You saw today that the Dow Jones Industrial Average crossed the 20,000 mark for the first time in U.S. history. Everybody, while you're sitting back and you're afraid of the stock market, you got to understand that trillions of dollars is being made right now. Okay, let's see. My sister says class was great tonight. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, and thank you, S. Scoville. Great class. All right, thank you. I appreciate that as well. Yeah, anybody who's in the class, please tell them what you think. Please give your honest opinion. Like, if you think it's mediocre, say it's mediocre. If you think it's great, say that it's great. Because I would like for other people to know that it's great. Because a lot of people will take classes at universities and they don't understand that I taught at universities. We can teach you everything that you will learn at a university. But unfortunately, some people, have a hard time trusting. They kind of think, maybe because we're Black, we're going to give you something inferior, but we're not. We're actually superior to what you learn on most college campuses. Anyway, that's the thing. I think that in this competitive society, we can solve every problem we have right now if we simply made maybe about 4 or 5 adjustments in the way we approach everything. 4 or 5 adjustments. Number one, if we were overly committed to educational excellence and learning everything that we could, if we were as committed to education as we are to entertainment, we would change the game. We would flip the script in a minute. Next, if we educated our own children so we could teach them to be Black as opposed to teaching them to be white, then that would actually do wonders in a generation. If we were committed to teaching our kids how to own their own businesses, and then what else? Oh, saving and investing our money. If we just committed to keeping our money in the community, if we did those 4 things, we would literally achieve not just equality, we would actually get ahead of everybody else. We would actually be the group of people that everybody wants to be like. But the problem is that for a very long time, you've been trained so deeply on very self-destructive habits that that it's taking time for us to adjust. It may take some time, but I'm gonna tell you, the people who are leading the charge, like the Black, I see some of the most amazing Black people ever who are builders, who are thinking like architects, who are thinking about, thinking in ways that are conducive to really absolutely revolutionary new ways of thinking. These people are never gonna walk around feeling, they're never gonna walk around feeling victimized. That's for damn sure. Somebody says, why did Tyler, the Creator, dish you? I don't know, because he's young and I'm older, and he just, some people aren't really interested in multi-dimensional thinking. Because I've had, I've bumped heads with a few different rappers, but I've also worked with a lot of them too, And let me see, the ones I can think of that come out right off the top of my head are Tyler, the Creator, Lil Wayne, and what's the other one? That new one. I should know her name. Young M.A. Young M.A. That's it. She's the biggest rapper in the world. Why wouldn't I remember her name? And people respond in different ways, So Tyler, the Creator, I guess, was very upset with me. So for 3 years, he's been bashing me, because I criticized something he did, but I wasn't trying to attack him. I invited him to call me and talk about it. I guess, you get your money from the white man. So why would you listen to a Black man, right? There are lots of Black people who feel that once they start working with white people, that Black people just don't matter, that they're kind of inferior. And so I think with Tyler, I didn't expect him to ever call me, but I think if he had called me and talked to me one time, I probably could have explained everything to him, but I didn't really care to explain it. The only explanation I will give you is that my goal is to support and defend my community. And so if you do something that's detrimental, then I've got to say something about it, not attack you. Somebody says, I'm not sure who he is. I need to Google. Yeah, he's not bad. He's actually kind of talented, but he's young, And the thing is that when you are a man and you hit your 40s, you're not supposed to be a person who goes along with the crowd. You're not supposed to try to fit in to be cool. We got 40-year-old men trying to sag their damn pants. What the hell's wrong with you? That's crazy. First of all, that started off with some gay shit in prison. That's number one. Number two, you're 40. You're 40. Stop. Just quit. There ain't nobody gonna get mad at you if if you act like a 40-year-old. You know, I mean, really, I got a gray in my beard. You know, I got a extra. I'm not as slim and trim as I was when I was 22. You know, sometimes it hurts to stand up and run around a little bit. You know, but I'm not ashamed of that. You know, and I would say that a lot of these rappers, I feel bad for these 40-some-year-old rappers who feel like they gotta act like they 20 years old or 19 in order to fit in. Like it's weird. You know, you got you up here, you have like gray hair and you're still dressing like you're you know, like you're in college. Like that's really strange to me. But anyway, enough of that. So I'm not gonna tell you what made me laugh. One of y'all made a comment. I'm not gonna tell you which one it was because I'm not gonna try. I'm not starting nothing with nobody. Anyway, so long story short, with Tyler or anybody, I always felt I took cues from my father. My father never tried to be my friend. He tried to be a guide for me. So sometimes he would be a spoil sport. He would rain on my parade. Like I would think that I was doing something really cool, and he would jump in and he would say, you know, he would jump in and just be like no, like that's stupid. Like why would you do that? Like that's ignorant, you know. And I didn't like it, but I knew he was right, and I think that's what parents do. So with Tyler, you know, I had, I guess, a father role. He had like the role of a son, but you know, because people don't respect black men, he didn't feel like he had to listen to me. So he feels like he can kind of rebel and disrespect. And it's fine. I don't care. I don't take it personally. Um, and Lil Wayne now, I feel, is a guy who's so doped up and he's got so much of the white man's money that he really has no respect for the black community. So with him, he's the kind of person where you got to kind of deal with him with force. You know, you can't talk him out of it or get him to change his point of view. Some of the rappers are actually intelligent. Like T.I. is very intelligent. I've seen T.I. just really change his position over the years, and I have a lot of respect and appreciation for that. And that's to me the essence of a real man. You know, you mature, you evolve, you understand. Okay, I have a new role. Ice Cube comes off like that. But when you talk about some of these other guys, like they just, you know, like if you black and you say anything about black people, they feel like they can disrespect you, because when black people get that power that comes from white folks, that validation from white folks, they feel like they're above their blackness because they never respected blackness in the first place. So that's why you'll have, you know, actors and actresses in Hollywood who don't want to be committed to anything black. Or you'll have, when I was out in Cal State Long Beach, I saw these black students, you know, from the LGBT community who really were disrespectful to Farrakhan because their white university had given them permission to disrespect one of the greatest black leaders of all time. Now, you ain't got to agree with Farrakhan. It's freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want. But, you know, you can be respectful too. You don't have to do what they want you to do, which is to dismantle black leadership just so you can make your damn point. Make your point. But be respectful, you know, say, hey, you know what, I respect Farrakhan for what he's done, but on this area, I disagree with him. That's fine. But when you get to where you're like walking out in the middle of the speech and all that, what happens is you got a little bit of white man's money, you don't got bold now, you know, and I think that a lot of us, you know, we don't understand that, you know. So, but then like when I think about as far as rappers, like we were talking about rappers, I think Young M.A. has been really respectful. You know, Young M.A. and it could have went ugly. It could have got weird because what I said about her could have come off as a criticism, and it wasn't. I didn't intend it that way, but she's a very intelligent young lady. I call her young lady. I mean, I know she talks about, you know, the bro code, and she said something about deep throat, which was like, huh? I don't know. I didn't understand that. Yeah, go check out Young M.A. She's a very talented lyricist, but some of her lyrics might confuse you. But I'm not clowning. I'm not making fun of none of that. It is what it is. I know that again at 45, there's going to be some stuff that happens you just ain't gonna understand. But anyway, you know, but she's been really thoughtful about the things that she said. You know, I listened to what she said about me on the Breakfast Club and some other places, and she was very measured, very thoughtful, and it makes sense because rappers are really smart people. A lot of them, they're very sharp, especially battle rappers. You know, you have to have a lot of neurons firing to do what they do. So they're very good at, really articulating things in creative ways, and so I personally think, I'm not surprised at all. I personally think that a lot of our rappers could be some of our leading thinkers if they were to use their intelligence in the right way. Some of them just use it in the wrong way, and I think that's unproductive. Somebody said, Boyce is my second dad. Oh, that's nice. I appreciate it. Well, I'm glad to be your dad. I accept the invitation. So when you need a dad, then you hit me up on Twitter, and I'll give you dadly advice. Anybody else needs a dad? I like being a dad. I never got a chance to have more kids. I had one biological daughter, and I got a lot of god kids, and a couple of adopted kids. But I wanted to have more kids. But so anybody who wants me to be their dad, I'm happy to do it. It's an honor and a pleasure. And I'm actually really impressed when I see young people that listen. A lot of young people don't listen. Sometimes you just think you know everything, and then it's sad for me because you're going to go through life making a bunch of dumb decisions because you never listened to anybody. You don't have to let anybody tell you what to do, but just take the advice. Listen. She says you could be my daddy too. I don't know if you could be my daddy, because I don't know if I could be your daddy, because wasn't you flirting with me the other day? Now don't be flirting with me and saying I'm your daddy now. That's a little weird. That's a little too much now. I'm playing. I'm being silly. All right. So anyway, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to bed. But I'm gonna watch the New Edition story on the. Do I have me some heirs? Yeah, I got them in my will. I got people in my will. I'm gonna leave money to and stuff when I get done. But yeah, I'm gonna watch the New Edition movie, and I'll give you more of my thoughts on it. Again, if you're interested in joining our stock market program, feel free. Go to blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. You haven't missed anything. Everything's recorded, and every week we're talking about something really interesting. And this week is really cool. Our students were talking about how much money they made since the Dow broke the record high, and so a lot of them are one of our students has made $3,000, but he actually invested like $20,000, so that wasn't common. But most of them made at least a couple hundred and stuff like that, and so it's kind of fun to talk about that stuff. I like being around Black people who are winning. Black people should win. We should be winning. I don't want to hear no more Negro distress stories. I'm tired of us feeling like, people it's hard out here in these streets and the struggle is real. Man, fuck that. Really, seriously. Let's stop talking about the damn struggle. Let's focus on the victory. Let's focus on what we desire. Let's focus on what we're going for. Let's focus on what we want to try to do in terms of winning. Let's win. Let's stop struggling. Let's stop struggling. I'm tired of that. I don't want to struggle no more. I'm tired. I don't want to struggle. All right. Did I sound passionate about that? Because that's exactly how I feel. All right. And I don't know if I told you guys about the Institute. Simmons College of Kentucky and HBCU in Kentucky. They just started the Dr. Boyce Watkins Economic Empowerment Institute. And I like mentioning that regularly because I have so much respect for Simmons, and I'm excited about what we're going to do with this institute. We're also going to host the All Black National Convention at Simmons College in Louisville, Kentucky, birthplace of the great Muhammad Ali. It's going to be September 29th through October 1st. So I hope that you will come out. And the sister says, come to Los Angeles again. Yes, I'll be in Los Angeles actually sooner than you think, but we have to seal the deal. And as soon as I find out, I'll let you know. All right. And in fact, if you want to keep up with all that stuff, you can feel free to sign up and get a free e-copy of my book, but also you'll be on our list. Sign up at drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. And the sister says you should do something in New York. Of course we're going to New York, and of course we're going to Charlotte and Oakland. I see all your cities right there. New York, we can't. How can we leave New York off of this? Oh my God, the people in Brooklyn will kill me. So we're definitely going to New York. And actually Charlemagne, the guy, he texted me the other day and said he wanted me to come on the Breakfast Club again, and I had to figure out what I want to talk about. So so that'll be fun. That's always a fun show. That's one of my favorite shows. All right, guys. I'm out, and have a good day, and I love you, and hope you have an awesome, awesome evening. Talk to you soon. Peace.
What is it that drives you and makes you hustle every day, and how do you maintain a hustle in this world, in this industry? Do you handle it in an honest way in this business?
Well, I was looking at the New Edition story, and I like it. I'm not mad at it at all. But it was funny because they were like talking to Michael Bivins, and they was like, when do you ever see the label or the administrator broke? Right? And then they were showing how the other guy robbed them, the in-between guy. All my artists be rich, and I'm the one that be broke. But usually it be the artist that be complaining that be broke, and it be the other guy. Yeah. You know, that's where honesty gets you. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. But at the end of the day, I've learned enough from it, and I've built a brand where I can do it on my own. So it's tougher to be honest, but you have a better life if you're honest. You have a more longevity if you're honest. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, like, as far as my drive, I'm from Harlem. And I came up around people that were competitive in the street at doing illegal things. So now that I'm not doing any illegal things, I still have the competitiveness, but I don't have, it's legal. Right. So it's so much, and I don't do anything unless I enjoy it. Right. So like my son plays ball like every day, basketball, books, but he don't get paid for that. You understand what I'm saying? But he do it every day. He love it. To me, I'm like, yo, bro, regardless of what it is, if you love it, the trick is to figure out how to get paid to do things you love, so that way the mistakes don't feel like mistakes. It feels like practice. It's just practice. It's not a mistake when you love it, because you get better the next time you do it. So it's practice. In my life, that's what I've been doing. I'm practicing. I did it one way, now I'm trying to do it another way, and now I'm trying to do it another way. You've seen me do it. Absolutely. I'm like, all right, yo, we had this conversation 10 years ago. I did it this way. You were there when you were like, what happened? It's over. I'm doing it different. I'm doing something different. I changed everything, had a plan, right? And I'm trying it another way. I practiced it one way, now I think I could do it better this way. But also in doing it, my kids got to be first. The other way, my kids wasn't first. I always did it for them, but my time with them didn't come first. In this hustle, my time with my children come before anything. I schedule everything around that because I love it, and she needs it, and she loves it, and we love it. Yeah. And every time that happens, the opportunities that have presented themselves to me have been way huger than me hustling on the street all day. Doing the right thing presents those big opportunities. Yeah. You know, a lot of people don't do the right thing because they're scared that they're not going to get the opportunities. They end up hustling real fast and hard for nothing.
They cheat, yeah.
They cheat, they think they're winning temporarily, right. And then all of a sudden they got to start over and they older. And it's always harder to start over older. Don't start working out when you're 50. You have no muscle memory. Start when you're a teenager. Just practice life young. So by the time you get to a certain age, you've already done it wrong at a young age. But it's not hot to be the old motherfucker in the club. That's the one thing I don't want to be, is a ringer. You know what I'm saying? The old guy that thinks he's cool around everybody young. And that's not going to be me. I'm not a ringer. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing that. I'm not going to be a bully in that circle. I'm going to be a bully around people my peers, my age. Right. And if I can't, then I'm going to keep hustling and grinding until I am. Period. It's easy to be a ringer. I'm not a ringer. I'm not trying to be the old guy at the club and be the legend and nah, fuck all that. You understand what I'm saying?
Dash in the house and you like, you know, you just...
I'm low. Yeah. I'm not doing that. Yeah. I be a bully. I can always get money over there. Yeah. Legend money is easy money.
Easy money, walk through.
Because I'm 45, I'm 46. I've done enough though that I can really just live off the history. Yeah. I'm not doing that. For me, I have other options. Right. You know what I'm saying?
What's your thoughts on cannabis-infused alcohol and the risk reward of getting into this industry?
Where's the cannabis-infused alcohol? I need that.
I've been hearing about that.
Where's it at? I'm late. I've been in the house. I've been in the studio editing
cannabis-infused alcohol. Damn.
Where is it? My thoughts are I'm looking forward to it. I hope it's good. I'm curious to know what that feels like. Pause. You know. And what was that? What was the other one? I got stuck on the cannabis. Wow. If you had two questions, what was the other one?
And the risk and rewards of getting into this industry.
If you believe in something, there is no risk.
There's no risk.
There's no risk in going to get your dreams, because the experience is all that really should be currency. Right. Is the good time, the bucket list. Look at your bucket list. That's the I don't give a fuck it list. I'm gonna do this because I just want to do it.
Love, the passion.
Just because it's fun.
Exactly.
That's what I got. I got a list of shit that I just want to do just because. One of them was sell oil. I did it and I moved on. You know what I'm
When you
saying?
know your purpose, there's no obstacle.
One of
There's
them,
no risk.
I wanted to be a
No
fight
risk.
promoter. I did it and I moved on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be a music mogul. I did it and I moved on. I wanted to be a fashion mogul. I did it and I moved on. I wanted to do art. I did it and I moved on. Now I want to be a film
Director.
I want to be a director, but I also want to have all these things. I just want to make movies. I want to do content.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And now that I'm learning how to live a lifestyle and still maintain a healthy diabetic situation, I want to tell people how to be as healthy as me. Because one thing a diabetic wants to see is other diabetics win. Because that means they're gonna win.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? The more of us that win, the more we know we gonna win. So I'm gonna teach people. Like, I don't know why anybody's ashamed that they diabetic. It shows character. It defines. Like, yo, I did everything I did while I was diabetic. Period. From the street to the music to the fashion, everything diabetic. If I could do it, anyone could do it.
Yeah.
I did everything. You could do anything as a diabetic. The world needs to know that. But you gotta take it. You gotta carry. I'm 46.
You gotta maintain.
You could be 46 if diabetic and still be rolling. You could do that.
And your sugar, you said your blood
My
sugar.
shit is at a 6 something right now.
Right.
I ain't never been at a 6 nothing with chefs around, with counting my carbs, everything. I never ever did it. It's the first time. It's fucked up because now I got way more energy. I told you I lost 10 pounds last week. I was way fatter last week. Pause. Word up, I know it.
I was way fatter last week.
7 days ago, I was 10 pounds heavier, B. I was the fuck all that.
Been working out like crazy.
Just I gotta get right. I'm my sugar right. I'm good now. You know, but I hurt my shoulder, so that's why I couldn't work
Yeah,
out.
you've been doing acupuncture. What's up with that?
It's been working. It's about circulating the blood because when I have an injury, there's no. But like I said, Chinese medicine is bugged because they do it by your tongue. They look at your tongue and they tell you everything.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but it's been working. You know, I really don't like all those needles, so I don't give a. Every time she does it, I don't like it. I don't like it. But it's good once it's in
It's
there.
like something sticky, like.
It's just conceptually, I don't like needles.
Yeah.
You know, I just got away from all the needles, and now I'm back on needles and shit. So,
What's the next one?
do you have a question?
Yeah. I got a question.
Ask him. What's your question?
Oh, what's the question?
What's your question? Rocky, when Rocky told me to do
what's
something,
that?
I do it. What's your question?
No, I'm gonna wait on mine. So I'll wait on mine towards there.
Oh, one of mine? What does that
I'm
mean?
gonna wait on.
Oh, why you keep rubbing your hands like that? What's going on right now? Trying to make fire?
Thinking of a
What's going on?
master plan.
I'm rubbing my hand. Thinking of a master plan.
What are some of the biggest sacrifices that you had to make when starting up any of your businesses?
The biggest one is the time away from my children. That's the biggest sacrifice. Anything that takes you away from your family is a sacrifice.
Same here. Yeah.
But that's the biggest sacrifice. Other than that, nothing.
Right.
Out of clothing, liquor, movies, music, oil, which industry is the toughest to break into with yours?
I think fashion might be the toughest because it's so cash intensive. You know what I mean? Like that's the one where you really need a deep pocket to sustain. It takes a long time to build a brand. Building a brand again takes patience. But as far as moving parts, I think fashion, because the design process and the soliciting process and the calendar process, like music, you can make a record and whenever you feel like it. You know, you're not on a calendar. But with fashion, if you don't have the brand shipped, or if you don't have the clothes, the product shipped to the stores, you lose all your real estate. And there's just so many variables. And they're producing that shit most of the time overseas. Like my stuff is now made in the USA, but before everything is in China. Like what you gonna do a half a planet away at a different time, speaking a different language. And then if you have to like, to the extent that if it goes wrong 3 months ahead of time, it's not gonna get on the boats, so you have to fly it in. You lose money there. There's so many ways.
So many different things.
Everything has to work perfect for you to make money in fashion, and that, even at that, you're lucky if you have a 10% margin. Most people hustle for a 3 or 4% margin and do value
Even 10%.
at off price. Huh?
It's just for 10%.
Yeah, so that means 100 million, you're only making 10 million. 10 million, you're only making 1 million. 5 million, you're making 500,000. 500,000, you're making 100,000 or 50,000. You understand what I'm saying? So people might generate, and that's if everything goes right. But if everything goes off price, cut your margin in half, and that's really where people make money is doing volume of off
Going
price.
to Macy's and going to department stores.
Right. So you have a 3% margin, but if you do double the stuff, then it turns into a 6% mark. But still, if you have 10 of those companies, then it's like a good, healthy thing. But that's what I'm saying. Fashion, I think, is the hardest.
Yo, this is
by Dr. Claude Anderson. Black Labor, White Wealth is one of the greatest books written in American history. You can tell by how it's tattered from my reading it, and I scratched it up. I got notes and everything in it because I feel like this book is a great book to really understand America as it is, to understand where America came from, how America got powerful, how everything around you came into existence. So I don't want you to ever think that all this happened because black people are inferior. That's really the important thing to understand, because a lot of folks will make you think that there's something wrong with black people, and then you run around and you say, you know how people say niggas ain't shit, things like that, and you won't. You'll say things like that without knowing the history of how things got to be where they are right now. So what I want to do is look at this book. If you don't have your copy yet, I encourage you to get a copy. I have a list of recommended reading at thedrboycelibrary.com. That's thedrboycelibrary.com. And so the other thing I want to mention, someone asked if you can get a recording of last night's stock market class. Yes, if you are a member of the class, you can always get recordings of everything that's happened before you arrive. So it's not as if getting there late means that you're going to miss anything. If you go sign up at blackfinancialliteracy.com, the link is right below the video. You can actually go in and sign up now, and you can see everything that happened in the first class, and then you can catch up and all that good stuff. Also, don't forget, if you haven't hit the share button, invited your Facebook or Twitter followers, please do so. I hope that you will do that, because we're trying to build something here. All right, so I want to read something. This is literally in the introduction. This is actually in the very beginning of the book, but I think it's very powerful. And I want to read this to you, and I want you to kind of think about this a little bit. And he says this. He says, neither the dialogue nor the strategies, meaning the strategies for us to survive and grow as a people, can be emotional or superficial. So that means that everything that we do that's emotional, the way we sort of attracted to charismatic leadership, that this is not something that really gets us ahead in this country or any other. A lot of us tend to, we want our leaders to sort of get up there and scream and shout, and we kind of feel like we have to have one person who's like a demagogue or somebody, a superhero that's going to save the whole black community. And Dr. Anderson, one thing he mentions is that for the black community to prosper, and I agree with him, you have to have leaders that can't be assassinated. You have to have leadership that can't be shot. And so when you're sort of depending on one man or one woman, you're at risk of having a whole movement die because one person died, which has happened in the past. He says, so neither the dialogue nor the strategies can be superficial or emotional. Instead, they must be based on facts and knowledge, and considered for the purpose of understanding not just the symptoms that we see all around us, but also how things came to be as they are, and how as blacks we can reverse our misfortunes and strengthen ourselves as a group. So he says, look, stop looking at the symptoms. Stop looking at the symptoms. Stop looking at violence and poverty and inequality and racism and all these other things, in educational problems. Stop looking at the symptoms of the racism and try to understand the underlying structure, understand the history of it. And then after you understand that, take that next step to understand how things came to be. That's why I love this book, because this is one of the few books that really takes you into true black history. See, true black history did not start with, black people were slaves and then white people let them go. Black history started with Africa, where the Europeans went to Africa because they needed knowledge, they needed help with mathematics, astronomy, everything else, medicine, all these things. Also, the resources were in Africa. Europeans were struggling. Europeans were not doing very well. So they went to Africa because Africa was the home of the bulk of the resources on this earth. And that's really true still to this day, actually. That's why everyone wants to go invest in Africa. And so he talks about how we understand how things came to be. And then you can understand how we can reverse our misfortunes and strengthen ourselves as a racial group. So that means you look at this, you might look at the symptoms first. Then you say, well, how did things get to be like this? And when you understand the root of the symptoms in terms of how things got to be this way, then you can understand what the cure is, right? How you can then reverse and make that move. And then when you make the reversal, meaning you go from being behind to catching up, at that point you go for strength. You don't go for just equality. Understand this, as black people, our goal is not to just be equal. You know, being equal to white people don't mean nothing really. I mean, it just means you're equal to somebody else. White people don't say we want equality with Asians. Asians don't say we want to have equality with Arabs. Every group just kind of says we just want to be as strong as we can be, right? With your family, is your family saying we want to keep up with the Joneses? We want to be equal to the Smiths? No, you don't want to be equal. You want to be strong. You want to figure out your own value system, your own metrics. We talk about this a lot in mathematics, like a metric. A metric is basically a system of measurement. Everybody has different metrics. My greatness might be related to my faith in God. Your greatness may be related to your educational level. His greatness may be related to how good he is at sports. So everybody has a different metric of what it means to be successful, what it means to be strong. So according to your metric and our community's metric, it's very, very important that we create strength based on that metric and not anybody else's. Because if you sort of look at white folks and you say, okay, our goal is to be equal to white people by basically doing what white people do so we can be as good at what white people are doing as white people are right now, what happens is you don't actually get to be the best. You actually get to be a cheap replacement for somebody else. And my argument is that as Black people, we are unique on our own. We have cultural norms on our own. We have value on our own. We have things about us that make us, I guess, the source of bewilderment for other people in the sense that they look up to us. They admire certain things about us. They marvel at us in certain ways. So why would you dumb down your level of excellence to sort of fit into somebody else's mediocrity? Right. So that's what I say to you. Sort of figure out what your metric is and then aim for strength. We want to aim for strength. We don't want to aim for equality and inclusion and all that. That's not fun. That's not interesting. That's not going to succeed. It's not going to work. You're pretty much thinking about the game as if you're starting off behind. And I think we have to think about it as if we're starting the game ahead or we're starting in a position of strength, not weakness. Now, let me read more of this. He says, this is, in case you just came in, this is Black Labor, White Wealth by Dr. Claude Anderson. If you haven't got a copy of this book, I suggest every Black person in America read it. We have this book and Powernomics and other books that I recommend you read at the DrBoyceLibrary.com. That's the DrBoyceLibrary.com. So you can go in there, you can get a copy of this book right now if that's something that will help you. So here's what he also says. He says, it is critical that we strengthen our group, because while as individuals, some of us may hold high-ranking positions in corporate America, government agencies, and our own businesses, and some of us may reside far from the scenes of Black despair, all Blacks are identifiable members of one racial group. So what he's kind of saying is that, we have to get past sort of thinking of Black success in terms of symbolism, right? The symbolism says, oh, we got a Black president. We made it, y'all, right? Or look, oh my God, there's a Black person who's the CEO of this company. I never thought I'd see a Black CEO of a Fortune 500 company of this size, right? And you think that because one person succeeds, that's the same as everybody succeeding. And that's not success. That's symbolism. We have to make sure we know the difference between the two. Like, I was very happy for Barack Obama becoming president of the United States, but I knew that didn't have nothing to do with me. That wasn't going to help put no food on my table. That wasn't going to help me protect my family any better. I knew that was good for him and his family, but it didn't have anything to do with me. So the symbolism is what we get caught up in. That's why people feed you symbolism so readily, because you take the symbolism and you internalize it as if it's real. People worship Barack Obama as if he was Jesus. I saw a lady, I gave a speech at a church in New York, and it was the day President Obama got inaugurated. And this lady came up with this beautiful picture of President Obama. And I said, and it was an old lady, about 80 years old. I said, ma'am, that's a beautiful picture. Where'd you get that picture? She said, I bought it right over there. She said, I'm going to take it home and I'm going to put it right next to my pictures of Martin Luther King and Jesus. I swear to God she said that. I swear that she said that. And that's when I said, oh, my God, we are in trouble. And at this same event, they were going to sing the song, We Shall Overcome. And I kid you not, and I'm not making this up, they literally changed the words from we shall overcome to we have overcome. They literally had us singing, we have overcome. I said, oh, my God, we are in for it. We are in for it. Anyway, let me keep going. Okay, so one thing that he mentions is that despite the fact that you have a few token black people that are sort of given success by a white supremacist system, and as I mentioned to you before, you don't usually get rewarded by a white supremacist system by being a strong black person. You usually get rewarded by any system by supporting the values of that system. So a white supremacist system's core value is white supremacy. So if you promote white supremacy, then you're going to be fine. You're going to get promotions. You're going to get raises. They're going to pay you extra money. That you look recently, you had Lee Daniels, who made the show Empire. You know, that horrible show that where they have all these black stereotypes. And Daniels literally went and he went out and went out of his way to basically say that actors and actresses in Hollywood who are black, who say that there's racism in Hollywood, that they're just running their mouths, and that they need to just shut up and do the work, that they need to start working harder. And so that's sort of his role. That's what he gets rewarded for. It goes back to what Dr. Anderson talks about in this book called Meritorious Manumission, which is where you had black slaves that were rewarded by white supremacists to basically shut down any effort by the masses of black people to become successful or to become free or to become strong or to become liberated. Now, what else does he say? So he talks about the fact that we are members of one identifiable racial group. See, that's important. Being identifiable makes a difference for being black, because a lot of folks, like if you're Jewish, yeah, sometimes you can hide it. If you're gay, yeah, you can definitely hide that most of the time, right? Now, but if you're black, most of the time you ain't hiding that. You know, I can't pretend to be a white boy no matter how hard I try. And so ultimately, these are the factors that bind us. As much as I want to say, well, you know, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins and I have a PhD and I'm world renowned and I'm quite successful and you're not going to treat me like the rest of those people. As much as I want to behave that way, I'd be silly not to know. I'd be silly not to know that in a lot of places in this world, they would treat me just like any other Negro on the street. They beat me as fast as they beat anybody else, especially if I'm out in a hoodie and a sweatshirt or something like that. I'm not wearing a tie. So, you know, at the end of the day, that connection as an identifiable racial group played a huge part in the history of how black people got to where we are right now. So let me keep reading. Furthermore, as a racial group, we are powerless, impoverished, and increasingly unable to compete in America. We are powerless, impoverished, and increasingly unable to compete in America. Now think about that. What does that mean? Let's think about those words individually. Powerless. You ain't got no power, no political power, no physical power, no economic power, etc. Impoverished. It means you're broke, right? And increasingly unable to compete. Now that's a problem, right? It's one thing if you're behind. It's another thing if you're running slower than your opponent and you're running in the wrong direction. That's one of our biggest problems as black people, is that we don't just have gaps and challenges to overcome. Some of us are trying to actually increase the gap. Some of us are actually trying to make the situation worse because we're not engaging in the right habits, the right cultural norms. Somebody says our men are weak. Well, you know, I'm going to say that our men have been weakened. I will say that lots of our men have been weakened. You know, just the basic fundamentals of being a strong man in terms of taking care of the family, providing for the family, having a certain education level, knowing how to start a business. When I see those qualities in a black man, there's a very strong chance in a lot of cases that he's not African American. A lot of times, not in every case though, not in every case, because I'm African American. If I insult all my brothers, I'm insulting myself. But in a lot of cases, a lot of the men, I'll see a man who has all those traits, like Dr. Christopher Emdin, a friend of mine who went to Columbia University, who takes great care of his family. He actually teaches at Columbia. He also went to while he's in grad school, he got his parents' house out of foreclosure and remodeled the entire house, a 4-story house in the middle of the Bronx, and made it beautiful. And he went to his old neighborhood and formed a neighborhood patrol, and they patrolled the neighborhood to make it safer. So these are like that's a real manhood kinds of activities. And unfortunately, I was happy to see this, and we were so proud. I said, man, this is a great black man. That's what a black man does. And I met his mother, and I'll never forget that his mother had a strong accent. And it turned out that I believe Chris was from the Caribbean. And I said, oh, man, you know, it didn't make me sad necessarily for him. It made me sad because I've seen that in other cases, you know, where when you see those men that have been raised to be strong, there's a strong likelihood in some cases that they have something unique about how they were raised or where they were raised. They're from the Caribbean or whatever. I don't think that this country is built in a way that leads to the strengthening of African American men. That's why I think it's very, very important to take black boys out of the public school system. Get them, if you can homeschool them, please do. Get them into situations where they're learning black excellence, where they're learning that the way you carry yourself as a man is not connected to any of the stereotypes. The stereotype of the black man in America is lazy. He's always chilling. You know, think about how many guys you might call and say, "What you doing, man?" "Nothing, chilling." Well, why are you chilling? We're at war. We're at war right now, man. Like, why are you chilling? Why would you chill in the middle of the battlefield? Why are you chilling all the time? You need to be working. You know, education's kind of thrown out the window in a lot of cases. Not every man. This is the stereotype. And some people feed into the stereotype. Heavily emasculated in a lot of ways. They go to prison. Some of them get raped in prison. Many of them are emasculated because they don't have fathers in the house for whatever reason. No judgment call on this, but it's true. And so you'll see sort of this tendency toward feminization, and in some cases that translates into homosexuality because of what these guys go through. So you kind of have a deliberate effort to emasculate and exterminate the male, which ultimately creates the genocidal implications for that particular group of people. And this is not an accident. This is absolutely, positively, 100% social engineered. This is not an accident. So anyway, it's funny. Listen to this. Listen to the next sentence in the book. The predominantly marginal living conditions of Black America did not happen by accident. Now, what did I just say? Didn't I just say did not happen by accident? He says they resulted from much forethought and planning by whites. European whites who came to this country in 1607 were the first power group in America. They wielded power in a manner that is natural to the human race. So they wielded power in a manner that is natural to the human race. So as much as you might want to say the white man's the devil, part of it is that he's actually got more access to his humanity than some of us do. In the sense that he said, well, damn it, I'm going to take care of mine. You know, I might have to kill you to protect my family, but if that's what's got to happen, then that's what's going to happen. You know, well, there's money, there's wealth over there. I'm going to go fight for that wealth. And if I can beat you and take your stuff, then I'm going to take it, right? It doesn't make it right. And some of it is abnormal, but some of it is actually natural. In some ways, we as Black people are actually less natural than other groups of people. It's not natural to be this passive. It's not natural to forgive people that run up in your church like Dylan Roof and shoot up everybody in the congregation. It's not natural for half the congregation to show up at the courtroom so they can beg Dylan for forgiveness or scream through the courtroom how much they forgive him, the man that just came to the church and murdered a bunch of people right in front of them. That's not normal. So at the end of the day, while we might want to criticize what white folks do, and some of it is a little barbaric, some of it is a little crazy, we got to also look at ourselves. You see, racism makes you crazy. It makes the oppressor crazy, or the oppressor's dysfunction creates greater dysfunction. It becomes inherited dysfunction, and then it makes the oppressed crazy. You lost your mind too. So let's keep going. He's talking about whites here, and this is Dr. Claude Anderson's book, Black Labor, White Wealth. I think everybody should read it. You can check the book out at thedrboycelibrary.com along with other books I recommend. They had a chance to start a new government in a country filled with resources and potential for wealth. They seized a unique opportunity to structure a government and a system to their sole advantage. To secure their advantage and increase their power, they subordinated and exploited another race of people, Blacks. So if you want to kind of get in a nutshell how America's set up, just know that a lot of what you see, a lot of the chaos that you see, is not something that just sort of happened by accident. It didn't happen because one group was necessarily inferior to the other. It did happen because one group had a type of dominance over the other that the other group had a hard time fighting against. And that's kind of where I kind of think that all of us, when you teach your kids Black history, when you're teaching yourselves what really happened as opposed to what you learned in public school, you really want to make sure that you kind of know sort of the dynamics of it all and try your best to look at it rationally instead of getting all emotional and getting mad. That's another thing. They use that against you. They use your emotionality as a liability in order to hurt you, and it ends up causing us to fall behind.